Hello everybody, welcome to a special evening stream. Am I framed correctly? I wonder if this... 1 second here. Let me fix this. Ugh. Yeah, I think that's better. I'm a little bit dark. There's not enough lighting in my room for the stream, but it's okay. Anyway, I am back on my back buffer copy quest. It was really bothering me that I couldn't figure out how to get back buffer copy to work because there was still an approach that I would have preferred to take with respect to card dimming. And so I was just playing around with that before I just ate dinner for a couple hours, and I finally have it. So in this stream, what I'm going to be doing is reworking a bunch of the card dimming stuff again, but it shouldn't take that much effort. Just going to see how it works, but it's better for a number of reasons, and I can get into those reasons in just a second. But let's blow through these ads really quick. Firstly, you can wishlist Alchemortis on Steam. That would help me out a lot, and I would very much appreciate it if you would do that. It's a dark fantasy roguelite auto battler. And you can also support me on Patreon. Again, would appreciate that support as well. And if you subscribe at this top tier here, you will get an Alchemortis Steam key sent to you at launch. So it's a pre-purchase of the game, and your name will also be listed in the Alchemortis credits. And of course, you can also check out my Udemy courses if you want to learn how to build complete games in the Godot engine. This supports me, but also you will learn a brand new skill. So check those out. You can also join the Discord. That's linked in the description below. Like and subscribe to the video. All that stuff helps as well. Very much appreciate that. Hello, Wooius. Welcome again. Who watches Game Dev stream at 12:30 a.m. in Germany? Very nice. Very nice. Welcome. Good to see you again. Hello, Nicholas Dev. Good to see you. Me waking up on my bed. Oh boy, a Game Dev stream at 12:30 a.m. in Germany. Nice. Hello, Snupbill. With the message Yummers. Welcome, welcome. Always good to see you. Okay, so I've got the back buffer copy node on the card now, and what I discovered about the back buffer copy is that when you have the copy mode set to rect here, this rect is supposed to be a screen in screen coordinates. So I was assuming that because this was a node 2D that it would just inherit, like this would be a relative position. So the X and Y position here would be relative to this position in the scene because it's a node 2D, right? It has a position. Well, that is not the case. That is not the case. So basically this rect here needs to be set to whatever the screen position of the thing you want to copy is. Thankfully in my game, like it's basically fixed to a 640 by 360 screen. So that was relatively easy. Basically, I just set that rect position to be the top left corner of the card, and then I set these W and H width and height dimensions here to be the size of the card, and that is actually working very well. And I've got a bunch of stuff in here, so this is built into the card scene itself, but I've got a bunch of stuff in here to save a little bit of performance. I don't need that print anymore. So I'm only turning the back buffer copy onto visible when I dim the card in, and I have to have this process method so that the process will update that back buffer rect position every frame. And also I'm making it visible and also making the actual dimmer rect here, which applies the shader, making that visible as well. And I need to change this to mouse ignore for safety reasons. And then when I dim the card out, it turns all that stuff back off. So really, this back buffer copy is only going to be in play when I need to dim something. Otherwise, it will basically be doing nothing, which is ideal. That's what we want, right? So, and this card dimmer component that I had previously made that was using a sub viewport and all that stuff, that has gone away. Now, the card dimmer component is still useful because this gives me a board level API through which I can handle all of the logic about which cards to dim out and which not to. So basically the way that this works is the cards have a dim in and dim out function, but I don't store any state in the cards themselves about when they need to be dimmed. That will be handled in the card dimmer component, which again can be enabled and disabled, basically on demand. Okay. So let's see how that works. So I've got a couple of issues that I need to address with this. I've got some bugs in here that are just related to the dimming out logic. So if I throw these cards into the alchemy board here, that fade works really nicely, as you can see. But also, if I drag a card, the other cards become highlighted. And if I guess that's the main issue. So I guess that's the main issue. So when I drag this card, these should remain dimmed. So we're gonna have to figure out how to do that. On card drag begin. On card drag began. Oh, that's not right, is it? I think what I need to do is I need to do if not owner dot board inventory component dot get cards on board contains this. So let's grab the dragon card. So grab the dragon card there. And then if dragon card is equal to null or the board does not contain dragon card, we're just going to go ahead and return. And then we're going to set the hovered card to the dragon card here. And then we're going to fade this card selection out. So this dim out here. I think this is wrong. I think I just want to do fade card selection in right there. Yeah, let's try that. Hello, Jackie Daytona. Welcome back. It's time for Game Dev once again. Again, yes. Back-to-back double stream days. Back-to-back double stream days. So if I drag those out, those remain dimmed. Now when card drag ends, I need to handle that case as well. But when I'm dragging, those remain faded out. But when I drop it, it needs to return. So fade card selection out. I think I've got these reversed. I'm going to rename these actually. Instead of fade, this is going to be dim card selection in, and this is going to be dim card selection out. That makes a little bit more sense semantically. We'll grab these guys. Boom, boom, boom. I also did some new art this afternoon. I'll show you that in a second. Okay, that appears to be working great. So the one thing that I need to do now is, because I've changed, so because these cards are each individually using back buffer copies now, what I need to do is I need to change how the board fade out works. So previously in my board component here, these cards were grouped under this canvas group. Back buffer copies do not work inside of canvas groups. So I put the cards as a sibling of this group. And now this fade group component here, when I fade a board out, like after you kill an enemy, that board needs to be faded out, but then I also need to coordinate fading all the cards out as well. So we're going to need to add support for that. But let me show you the new art that I did, if you're interested. Okay, so we go here, bring this up, and let's just see if I can beat, Oh, am I going to lose? Nope. So I've got this new art now. So any reward cards that happen to show up are going to be here. And we've got this little like treasure kind of art here, stacks of coins and also a bag in the middle there. And then you take these and that will fade out. So you can see how those cards did not fade out properly right there. So that's just something that I'm going to need to handle. But that works just fine. So I get the art coming in, grab one of these items, and then those cards need to fade out. But otherwise, we are good to go. So many bonus streams, I know. So I think that's good. So yeah, look at all this code I deleted, and I also deleted that sub viewport stuff, which is good because I don't really... Maybe I will call dim out on this, just to be sure. Let me just make sure that doesn't break anything. I forgot what I was saying. I interrupted my own train of thought. But yeah, this is a lot better because I don't have that sub viewport anymore that I have to manage. It just ends up, the code ends up being a lot cleaner this way. So I'm fine. I'm glad I finally got the back buffer copy to work. That was great. That was good. So yeah, we'll go ahead and handle the proper fading out of cards in just a second here. Sell this guy, put this over here. Cool. So the takeaway is that back buffer copy does not work with canvas layer. No, it works with canvas layer. It doesn't work with canvas groups. Also, is my music, my background music not playing? Oh, it's just really quiet right now. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Is the fading managed by a shader tween? Yeah, that's a tween that modifies a shader uniform. That's exactly what it is. Okay, all right. So move card dimming to card nodes with back buffer copy. So now we need to handle the fading out. So let me go to the card here. This card mask fade. Let me just make sure this is not used anywhere else. It's not. So I need to actually add a new uniform to this. Sampler 2D border mask texture. Filter nearest. And then I'm going to do a minor change up here. Let's do max of texture plus texture border mask texture uv.a. So I may actually want to change this. This is kind of annoying. I can't see the semicolon at the end of my line. There we go. What happens if the texture is null? Is that still going to work? Or is that going to give me an error? Oh yeah, that's completely wrong. So I'm going to need to figure out, is there a way to determine... let me see. Let me go to the built-in functions here. Is there a way to determine if a texture is set? Texture gather? What is that? Gathers four texels. Well, so the problem here is that I don't always want the border mask texture to be here. I don't want this to always be a factor in this mask mix value here. So what I think I'll do is I will do something a little bit hacky here. Let's do a new file 1 by 1. We'll save a transparent PNG. Alchemortis, assets, card, background. We'll do placeholder, border mask, .png. Let's see if that works. Hello, A the Ant, welcome back. Good to see you. Okay, cat, come on. This cat is a little bit too chunky, so he's getting less food, and that makes him extra annoying. Does it make you extra annoying? Does it make you extra annoying? Okay, let's see if that works. So I should see the same thing that I was seeing before with the proper behavior. Yeah, that works. So we can use a transparent single pixel texture as the border mask texture. And then I can replace this with the actual border mask when I need to fade it out. So let's focus on that now. So card. We don't need a fade in, so we're just going to do public void fade out. What we're going to do is we will do dim tween. We're going to kill the dim tween. Actually, maybe I'll just use this. Fade shader progress to 1. Let me look at board. Kill. Await fade out. Fade group component play fade out. Time is 0.5. Okay. So make that time 0.5 as well. And we actually don't need to do any of this stuff. I do need to actually flip this. So this tween action, visible equals true, visible equals true, set process to true. And I also need to set that texture. So what I need to do is I need to do dimmer rect material dot set shader parameter. Let's put the shader parameter up here. We got the border mask texture there. So we set the shader parameter, border mask texture. And then we need to do card registry.get card border mask, base card.absolute occupied cells. So we're going to set that parameter. So that border mask just covers the border. And then the normal mask just covers the inner part of the card. So those two added together will cover the entire card. And that's why I'm mixing them together. I'm sampling both their alpha values here, and then adding those alpha values together and clamping it to 1. So basically what this says is anything that's covered by the mask needs to transition into the new modified color. Anything that is not covered by the mask just needs to be the normal screen color. So there's that. So now I need to coordinate this board fading out. add board placement lock. I think it's as simple as doing this. For each var card in board inventory component dot get cards on board, we are going to call card.card node fade out. And I think that's basically going to handle it. Let's see if that works. We'll go to a combat node, give this a proper test. Okay. That appears to be fading out correctly. We sell this and they fade out. Very nice. Cool. Can't really complain about that, I don't think. I think it's basically working. Yeah, that is working pretty well. Now, is that border mask texture? 1 second. Let me try something here. Oh, maybe I need to do. Hold on a second. Let me remove this parameter here. Put those in there. Oh, that is fading out the border. Why is that happening? Oh, it's not using the mask anymore? I must have done this wrong. Max. Oh, this should be min. Oops, that's why. I fudged it up. Okay, this needs to be min instead of max. So when this is fading, this should only affect the interior of the card. The border should remain unchanged. So that's what's happening. And then when we go to a combat encounter and those cards fade out, the borders included should fade out. So that's basically the whole point of this. So we hover over this, we grab this, we put it in here, and all that fades out. Very nice. Cool. All right, I think we finally got it. We finally nailed it. Finally got the back buffer copy to work. Just keep checking it real quick. Just make sure everything's looking good. Sweet. Can't really complain about that. Hello, Ninja Link. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right. Fade cards out when board is killed. All right. That works just fine. Okay, let's take a look at this. So this is done. Awesome. So I've got a number of things to do here. I think I kind of want to start taking a look at artifact power because I think a lot of the artifacts are a little bit not so powerful. So maybe we'll take a look at the artifacts in here and change a couple of them. I think that would be fun. I haven't worked on the artifacts in quite a while, so it'll be fun to get back into that code and see what's going on. Okay, what is this one? So do I have artifacts here? Maybe we'll just go down the list in the resources here. So alchemical heal. All alchemical cards gain 2 heal. Let's change this to all allied alchemical cards, and we'll just buff this number. We'll just do a simple number change here. So we'll do a heal of 4. Basilisk Eye. This one is actually powerful enough. That one is one I'd choose all the time. Booster packs offer 1 additional card. I think that's going to be useful. This one is more useful now that all the booster packs are free. Gain 3 additional blood after every combat. I think that one's good as well. Visiting cleared nodes incurs no notoriety penalty. I may add something to this one. Maybe, well, that one's already kind of powerful too. Azir, come on. Stop. He's jumped up onto me like 4 separate times now. Goodness gracious. Don't you have some sleeping to do? Cat, no, go. Trying to work. Thank you. Oh my gosh, here he comes again. Ugh. I'm not gonna feed you. You're too chunky. Visiting cleared nodes incurs no notoriety penalty. We could make this one also ignore the floating eye penalty as well, but I'm not entirely sure about that floating eye to begin with, so I'm not going to make any changes there. Upon reaching 0 health, heals 50% of max health. This item becomes exhausted on use. That one is only useful for 1 time, which kind of makes it a little bit not useful. So we could change this. Do I want to keep it like an on-death item? One thing I could do is I could have this refill after you complete a certain number of combat victories, or I could have it refill after a boss victory or something. Anyway, let's see. Hello, Evan. Welcome back. Hello, Dead Piece. Hey, just an off-topic question. How much money have you made from selling games so far? Gunforge has made like a gross of like $18,000. So that's about the number. I made a video on it. There's 18 or 15, something like that. I made a video on it on this channel. How much money did my indie game make? So definitely check that out if you're interested. But I've sold a couple more copies since then. Do we need a relic to combat the eye's effect? That's what I'm thinking. Like, we could have an artifact that combats that, but again, I don't know if the eye is going to stay in the game or if it's going to change, so I don't really want to make a bunch of stuff that interacts with the eye just yet. Can we beat that eye up? It seems so arrogant. No, you can't do anything with the eye right now. Upon reaching 0 health, heals 50% of max health. This item becomes exhausted on use. We could do becomes unusable until and refills after the next combat victory. Something like that. So that's going to be a little bit of an interesting one. Let's go and check that out. Immortality elixir. Here we go. Execution context. So the question is, how do I get this information into here? Artifact context. Am I using all this stuff? So I'm going to need to track the combat that you used this item in and not refill it until after you beat the next combat encounter. So I'm going to need some additional context in here. We could put that information in the execution context, maybe. Would that be a wise thing to do? Would that be a wise thing to do? So I could put the current node from the map inside of here, so I would know what combat node this was used on. And then if it's attempting to be refilled, I could check that. Or I could simply just do some logic in here. Let's see. Is used equals true, is refillable. We'll just set this to false here. If is used, well, let's do this. If board is not equal to player board and is used and is not is refillable, then we're going to put is refillable equal to true. If board is not equal to player board and it is used and is refillable, we'll set is used to false, is refillable to false. Okay, so we could simplify all this logic here, but display alternative art, let's do this. Emit signal art updated. Let's do protected void display default art. Is displaying alternative art equals false, emit signal art updated. So in here, we're going to do display default art. We'll just return out of these, return out of that. So I could probably convert this all into one sort of like if block or some nested if blocks, but I'm not going to do that. I think this just is fine. So if an enemy board is dying and we've already used it and we're not refillable, then we're going to set is refillable to true. So this is going to handle the case where I use the immortality elixir and then I win the fight. I don't want the elixir to refill itself in the same combat that it was used in. So we're going to set is refillable to true. And then on the next enemy board death, we're going to check if it's used and it's refillable. Then we're going to set these back to false, display the default art, and return. And then that should just make it usable now. So let's give that a shot. Project settings, debug, test player artifacts. Why is test player artifacts at the bottom? Immortality elixir, here we go. How am I going to test this? Let's also give myself God mode so I can test this properly. Okay. Elixir of Immortality. Upon reaching 0 health, heals 50% of max health. This item becomes exhausted on use and refills after the next combat victory. Okay. So let's give it a shot. Skip that. We'll go here. We will allow this. I think this might kill me. Maybe not. I might win this just without anything on the board. Okay, it healed. So this is exhausted now. But I did still win. So we're going to grab the Scarab there. It's still exhausted. So now let's go win another combat here and see if it refills. It's refilled. Nice. It is refilled. So let's put this back and let's go lose the next one and just make sure that works. It does work. Cool. All right, so that should make the Elixir of Immortality a little bit more usable. Okay. What would theoretically happen if a fight were to go on for 666 turns with the Demon Egg? That's a good question, Jack. Nothing. The game wouldn't break. The egg would do nothing. You would just see the turn execute and nothing would happen. And that's because so all abilities implement the execute method, but not all execute methods actually contain functionality. So if I go to my Hellspawn egg here, this combat victory transform, there is a post-combat victory here, but this combat victory provider here is the only ability inside of this combat victory transform, and when that executes, nothing happens. So this method will be called after 666 turns, and the logic in here just says, do nothing. Sorry, that answer was not more interesting, but yeah. That's how my system works, that not every ability actually does something in combat. It would be the same thing, like, it's the same thing if you put a reagent on your board, they will still, like, go through their turns, but they just don't do anything because their abilities are only applicable to alchemy. Okay, Iron Gauntlet gains 1 damage after each successful combat. This damage is applied to any minion if it is the only minion on the board. Oh, you know what? Okay, I was just thinking, what happens if you stack these immortality elixirs? I think it'll be fine. Because the immortality elixirs will be called sequentially, this onboard died, and each time they're called, or each time this is called, it's checking to make sure that the player is dead. So after the first elixir heals the player won't be dead, and so the next one won't take effect. So again, I'm trying to design all these artifacts that they can be stackable. So you could get multiple gauntlets, you could get multiple immortality elixirs, you could get multiple cloaks, although that wouldn't really do anything. Okay, minion crit chance. Minion critical chance is increased by 10%. We could do something extra with this one. Or maybe for now I'll just buff the crit chance a little bit. We'll do 15% instead of 10. Noble Pedigree. This one is fine. That one's good. Start each combat with 25% health. All poison damage dealt heals for the same amount. So I have a question about that one. So I want this to be self-poison. So basically, actually, this is, I'm going to get rid of this check here. We're just going to do if damage context.source board is not equal to player board, or. So this poison heal is now going to support dealing poison damage to yourself. However, I think that this was a little bit... This artifact is a little... I almost never take this Venom artifact. Starting combat with 25% health, all poison damage dealt heals for the same amount. What should I do about this one? Thanks, now I know what I should put my turn cooldown and chance on. Yeah. I don't know if I like the starting combat with 25% health. I'm not even sure I like the poison damage dealt heals for the same amount. What could be more interesting is instead of starting the player off with less health, what I could do is... There's a couple of options. I could reduce the player's max health when you acquire the artifact. So that's one option, reduce the max health and keep the healing. Another option is to reduce the amount of poison that's applied and keep the healing. So instead of... So any poison stack that gets applied might be reduced by 2 or 1 or something. You used it on every poison build you did last time around? Interesting. So what do you think, Ninja Link? What should I do? Is it strong enough? Is it too strong? Because I almost never take that, but I guess that could be just like a playstyle thing for me. What do you think, Ninja Link? Does this artifact need to change, or do you think it's okay? I was immortal. Okay. So maybe the healing then is the problem here. Instead of all poison damage heals for the same amount, we could do each... We could do each application or each tick of poison heals 1 or something. What do we think about that? So instead of healing equal to the damage you deal, it's more so based on how many applications of poison you're doing. I think that might be this way to go. Let's see. Why is there a seal to int here? I think so, brings it in line with the cards. Okay, so let's do this instead. Let's not make the health penalty so high. I'm actually going to reverse this. Let's make it start with 75% health. And then each application of poison. So if we receive... Every time poison damage is dealt, heal 1. And so in here, If damage context source board is not equal to player board or damage context type. Okay. So I guess in here I could just do damage amount to 1. Let's give that a shot. Oh, I need to also give that artifact to myself. Project settings. Is it called Venom? No, Poison Heal. Okay. Part of the problem last time around was I could stack with no real downside. Heal for 200 to 300% poison dealt. Yeah, you never died. Yeah, so I think here, maybe this will be better. Start each combat with 75% health. Every time poison damage is dealt, heal 1. So maybe that will bring it more in line. So this means that every time... Shoot. I need a debug button to give me some... Okay. I just made the debug key give me residue as well. That will be useful. Okay. So I've got some residue now, so I can unlock this, put this on the board. Let's give that a shot. Okay, let's see what happens. So I start with 75% health. Is that not working? Oh, the problem, right. Oh, the problem here is this damage context source board is not present because this is coming from a status. So there is no source board. Yeah, source board is null here. Alright, well, we'll just make this easier on myself, I guess. We'll make this easier on myself. Okay. So I'm going to need to change the description then to an enemy. Try to be very explicit that the requirement is that you have to damage an enemy. I wish I could make it work off of dealing self poison damage, but as of right now, I don't have the data to support that. Maybe I'll revisit that later, but we'll just test this out the way it is. Okay. So let's see if this works now. Yeah, that works. So this should still be very strong healing if you've got a lot of poison, because every time the poison ticks, it will heal 1. But it should be a lot less. So now it becomes a game of seeing seeing how much poison you can apply. I mean, it still scales with how much poison you can apply, but it's like it's a much flatter linear scale. And then that 25% damage is just to kind of like offset whatever healing you might be able to acquire. Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Okay, we'll try that out. Okay, all ritual cards drop 1 tier higher. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make this 2 tiers higher. Oh, but if you stack the ritual candle, that's going to go crazy. I haven't decided yet if I want to cap the tier values of cards, but let's just give this a shot first. The ritual candle doesn't feel very good right now, but we can do it twice. Okay. Spider egg. This one is okay because this gives you a lot of minions. And the minions, the spiderlings, they don't deal poison anymore and they don't have swarm. So they basically just deal 1 damage. But they're still small cards. They're still small minions that can be used for either scaling minion cards or they can be used for alchemy, whatever you want to use them for. Now the sundial is definitely something that I want to fix. 50% chance for fire, poison, and bleed to preserve to increase stacks applied by 1. Equal chance for amount applied to be decreased by 1. So this basically is a wash the way it's designed right now. Probably need a more interesting design for this one. I use that one a lot too. Was really big into artifact stacking during my playtime. Yeah, and I want that to be a thing. Like the artifact should be a meaningful part of the game for sure. I want all the artifacts to be not necessarily equally appealing, but there are some artifacts that I had in my experience where I just never took them. And so I'm trying to address that. Like this broken sundial, this doesn't have any like obvious power with it. So I'm trying to think of I'm going to maybe do a new ability for this, a new feature for that. Try a new feature for this. So one thing I'm thinking is maybe it could increase status stacks. If a certain condition is met. Like I'm thinking of a situation where like you have fire, poison, and bleed on your board, and then you gain some kind of buff from that if you maintain cards that have all those statuses. What else? We could just have it have a 50% chance to increase the stacks applied by 1, and then just remove this part instead of like just don't decrease the stacks. So you have a 50% chance that the stacks are increased by 1. Sundial was kind of mad. I used it because it's the most useful of what I would give, what I was given. I'm wondering, do I want to just tweak what's here, or do I want to change it completely? Look at this. Modify, apply status context. Could you make it so that fire damage dealt 10% more when it explodes? Yeah, I can definitely do something like that. I'm just wondering Like, that could also be a different artifact, you know? What if I did something like this? What if I said... Let me look at something really quick. What if I did something like this? The broken sundial has a chance to transform one status applied into another one. So let's say that you have a card that applies shield. The broken sundial may kick in and change the shield to bleed, or it may change the shield to poison, or it might change the shield to fire. Does that sound interesting? Do I really need to check this status stacks? I think I might do that. It sounds interesting. Have the sundial transform a status into a different one. I think that would be interesting as a different artifact. Okay, then let's just do this. Let's just get rid of this equal a chance for amount applied to be decreased by 1, and we'll just give it a 50% chance to increase the stack by 1. We'll just do that for now. So now it's at least a net benefit. It just doesn't work all the time. It's like not a guaranteed buff. Okay, telescope increases fog or reveal radius by 1. I think this one is good. To the extent that this one is not strong enough, it's because revealing map nodes is not that useful, which I'm hoping that will be addressed by some other stuff that I have planned. Whenever an enemy damages preserve, deal damage equal to preserve damage taken. That one is good. I think that's fine. Sundial is a time measuring device. It's broken, so why not increase the notoriety required to trigger the boss? Gives the player more time to explore. That is a great idea. That is a great idea. Yeah. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. I want to keep this ability though, so maybe I'll have to move that to a new artifact. Oh my gosh, Cat, I know you're hungry. I know you're hungry. Can I think for a second? Can I think? I'm not your slave. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna annoy you until you don't want to sit here anymore. I'm gonna annoy you until you don't want to sit here anymore. We're gonna pat the belly. We're gonna pat the belly. He's purring through all this, by the way. He doesn't get annoyed. Ugh. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? You're chunky. Look at that belly. You're chunky. You have to lose weight. I'm sorry. I only have great ideas. So yeah, maybe we'll do that. Let's see. Okay. Let's do this. I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break. And then when I come back, we will do what Wuya suggested. We'll increase the notoriety. The max notoriety before you trigger the boss fight. So yeah, we'll do that. We'll see how it goes. And then we'll take this ability, we'll put it on maybe a new artifact. And then I also want to do an artifact that changes, like transmutes a status. Let me write that down before I forget. Transmute status into another status. And then, yeah, that's fine. Okay, we will give that a shot in just 3 minutes. I'll be right back and we'll continue on. Okay, I'm back. Are we getting compensation for the 2-week break? I guess you could look at it that way, sure. Welcome back, V. Good to see you. Okay, let's figure out how we can modify the required notoriety cost to get to the boss. So let me look at this. Where would that be? Does anyone know where I can find the notoriety cost in here? Oh, I call it wanted level throughout the code. Wanted level increase. Mid-single signal wanted level changed. Seeded run max wanted level. Okay, so this Yeah, so I think this is actually going to be relatively simple. Public static int modify max notoriety level int base max level. And then what we'll do in here is we'll do this artifact base artifact modify max notoriety level. I'm going to base artifact here. Public virtual int modify max notoriety level int max notoriety level. We're going to return max notoriety level here. Let's go ahead and put this just up here for now. Should be actually relatively easy. And then in my sundial here, what I can do is I can do public override int. We're going to do max notoriety level. Let's increase it by 10. 10 should give you up to 2 nodes of additional travel before you hit the boss. So I think that's plenty. And again, you can stack the artifacts, so you could get multiple sundials and just kind of like broadly extend the amount of nodes that you're able to visit. This is going to go away. I'm going to take this and put that over into a different artifact, but increases notoriety level required to trigger a boss fight is increased by 10. Burning the midnight oil, yeah. Well, it's not midnight, it's almost 8 p.m. But you know what they say, 8 p.m. is the new midnight. They say that, and don't Google that. Don't fact check me. Modify max notoriety level. So now in here, my run manager here, we're gonna do artifact manager dot modify max notoriety level, and we're gonna pass that in there. Now I also have to see where this is used. I think it's in the UI somewhere. Run progress bar, yeah. So I count max wanted level wanted per I. So this is gonna change. Wanted per I. So this is no longer a constant. Interesting. Interesting. Well, we could just keep that normal for now. And just change this. Artifact manager dot modify max notoriety level. There. Now we are going to need to call update wanted label here when a new artifact gets added. So what I probably need to do is I probably need to connect to that. Do I have a signal for when an artifact gets added? Yes. How am I actually connecting to that? Oh, this.get artifact manager. Okay, I can do that. Okay. This.get artifact manager dot connect artifact manager dot signal name artifact added. Artifact resource is animated from position. We're not going to do a lambda here. We're just going to do update wanted label here. New wanted level. Where do I get this current wanted level? This dot get run manager wanted level, or 0. We'll do that. Okay, now the eye count is not going to be wanted per eye. This actually needs to change. Let's get rid of this. I'm just going to call this update state here. And then I'm going to create a wanted per eye, private int wanted per eye here. We're going to get rid of this. Eye count, I'm just going to fix this to 20. Wanted per eye, this is an int. This might need to be a float now. Oh, is this going to screw everything up? Wanted per eye. This might need to be a float now. Okay, max wanted level here. Wanted per eye is equal to max wanted level divided by eye count. Okay, then we're going to do this mathf dot round to int wanted per eye. So what I'm trying to do is make the eyes dynamically respond to when the max changes. I think that will do it. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. Hopefully that does it. We just got rid of a couple of constants. All right, let's see what happens. Project settings. We're going to set the debug notoriety level to 99, and then we're also going to add the sundial here. Let's see what that does. Just got back from job. How is it going? It's going well. How are you doing, Mark? There was a comment in the back buffer copy Godot docs that might explain why it doesn't feel like it's working as intended. Interesting. I'm going to have to check that out. Hello, Bomb That Explodes. Welcome back. And also welcome, Brandon Fuller. Good to see you. Gotta go get my daughter from cheer practice. See you in 20 if you're still around. Yeah, I should still be here. But if I don't see you, then have a good night, Ninja Link, and thanks for joining. Just had a quick Google and you have some explaining to do. Have you tried that Ball X Pit game? No, but I've heard a lot about it. To be honest, the only game that's keeping my attention right now is Arc Raiders. Unfortunately, or fortunately. Okay, so we got the broken sundial. Notoriety level required to trigger boss fight is increased by 10. And we can see that this up here has been modified to 10. 110, I mean, which is good. So if I go here and I cross that 100 threshold, we should not... Yeah, we're at 104 out of 110. So now if I go here, let's just put this in here. What is that going to put me at? 110 out of 110. We go into the boss fight. Very cool. I forgot to check if the eyeballs were full, but that's all right. Oh, that's not right. This is broken. Those need to be faded back in. Okay, so I'm going to need to handle that as well. Oh, did I get disconnected? Are we back? Are we back? Did we get a little blip? Cards do not fade back in after death and resurrection. So I'm going to need to handle that. That should be easy to do, but still something I need to handle, I suppose. Okay. I didn't check the eyeballs being filled. I need to check that. I'm fine. Okay, good. I've heard great things about it. Yeah, me too. Me too. So yeah, this last eye is not filled. I almost wonder if I should reduce the number of eyes across the screen there. Probably 20 is too much. So now they're all the way filled. We're at 108 out of 110. Okay, I think that's good. I think it's working as intended. So we'll get rid of this. I'm also gonna, while I'm here, I might as well just go ahead and reduce this eye count down to 10. Might be less noisy. Oops, I didn't mean to run that. Oops, I didn't mean to run that one. Yeah, I think that generally looks just nicer to me. Maybe I'll do a middle ground to do like 15 or something. I think that's better. A little bit less noisy. The cat is not done making his demands. Yeah, I like that. I think it looks good. Cool. All right, well that ended up being pretty easy to do. Thank you, Wooius, again for the suggestion. I think that works really well. So I do want to do this kind of artifact where there's a 50% chance to increase status applied. So we need some theme ideas for what the artifact art could be for that. But that's a good change right there. Let's continue down. Telescope Thorns, Vampire Fangs. Gain 25% lifesteal, but take 2 damage every turn during combat. I actually think this one is fine as well. I already changed this one. So before, this was granting 25% lifesteal, but then you also took like 5% of your max health as damage every turn. So what I did is I just turned that into a flat number. So this Vampire Fangs is actually pretty good now if you're stacking damage, but it's also good if you have a larger health pool, because the larger your health pool is, the less this 2 damage per turn is going to affect you. So I think that's okay. So I think we're actually good. We ended up doing what? We ended up reworking or tweaking 4 or 5 artifacts, which is good. So yeah, I think that's fine. So now we need some idea for art that could be done for a artifact that increases the status stacks applied by 1, or 50% chance to increase status stacks applied by 1. What could we do here? There's all my artifacts. What could we do here? Just thinking of ideas for the art. Can you show your to-do list? Currently I'm trying combat. I'm not sure what titles should I use. For now I only have to do, doing, and done. But we have a lot more what each of them are meant for. Yeah, I mean, the thing about Kanban is that there's not really a correct way to do it. I would say that the 3 columns that you have are perfectly fine. really what Kanban is about is like having a backlog of cards that need to be done, having stuff that's in progress, and then having a log of what's been done. But I've got a couple of other things, like I've got a backlog and a to-do. The backlog is things that I want to get to at some point, but the to-do is the stuff that I'm immediately focused on working on. I just have this covered in devlog column just to note all of the cards that I covered in the last devlog. So basically anything in the done column here is something that hasn't been covered yet on my channel. And then this is just to have a record of what I covered previously. And then I've just have an ideas column where I just dump ideas in here. This column probably doesn't need to exist, but that's a polish. And then all the way over here, these are separate ideas for enemy cards, player cards, and card abilities. So I'm kind of using this as a task tracking board, but I'm also using it as just like dump storage for any ideas that I have. So there's not a really right or wrong way to do it. It's whatever, however you can make Kanban useful to you is the way you should use it. Hello, Nick. Welcome back. Good to see you. Good evening. What is this, a late stream? Yeah, this is the second stream of today. 2 days where I did 2 streams in a day. Oh, yep. We are at it. We got to get Alchemortis to get to that next playtest. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. How's your day going, Nick? Oops. All right. What I'm trying to think of, like, what this artifact could be. So it's an artifact that has a 50% chance to increase poison, bleed, fire, or shield status amount applied. I kind of just want to do, I don't know, I might just do like a random, I might just make something up, honestly. Just make something up. I'm not gonna say what I'm drawing. You can wait. You can see if you guys know what I'm doing. That is a little bit small. That works a little bit better, I think. And maybe we'll make... Let's make this a little bit... Well, let me think. This is not... I wonder if I just flip this. Maybe I'll flip this too. That doesn't quite work. Got this, buddy. I have full faith in you. Thank you. I hope I hope I can do it, but we'll see. We will see. When in doubt, just make something up. We're almost there. We are almost there. Okay, well, maybe that's okay. He's the knight. Day is going well, also working super hard. Very nice. The claw. What is this going to be? A skeleton arm? Yes, it is a skeleton arm. I'm glad you guys got it. Sorry, I had to respond to a text. Let's see if we can get this working. Does this need to be... Needs to be 3 pixels off the side, and I fudged it up already. All right, why a skelly arm? Well, I couldn't think of another artifact to do, and that's why I said when in doubt, make something up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna make this up. I'm just gonna like give it a name and just like, you know, just give it a name, make it sound super cool, and then call it a day. Instead of trying to find something that's like thematically appropriate for what I'm trying to do, I'll just make something thematically appropriate, you know what I mean? Okay, that looks good. I like how that's turning out. Oh, we'll do a little bit more of a... I don't like that there. No, I think this is that fine? That's good right there. I think that's good. That should fit the space pretty nicely. And then we're just going to add some shading here. Let's see. Okay, that'll work. The shading over here is going to be a little bit weird, but that's all right. Okay, I think that's probably okay. And let's just pepper this in with some little darker parts here just to maybe add some extra visual interest. Okay. Artifact idea, pocket dimension, increases inventory space. I always felt inventory to be small. It felt very restrictive, too small. Yeah, I still have to decide what I want to do with that. But, you know, I still have to do a meta progression system for this game as well. So there's a question of like, should I add inventory space increases to the meta progression? Should I make it an artifact? Or, you know, I may actually, you know, there's an option to make the inventory space smaller, but then increase the max inventory space to be larger when you've maxed out your meta progression. You know, there's options. I am limited in terms of space. Like, I just have a limited amount of space here on the drawer. So realistically, I could probably add two more rows of cells. So that would be 6 more cells to the inventory. That would be like the max size I could support. But yeah, I got to figure out what I'm doing with that. I could also make the inventory scroll, I guess. That could be an option. Although I don't like that necessarily, but yeah, there's something that I have to think about still. That's why I haven't really done anything with like inventory space yet, is I want to get the rest of the game feeling and looking pretty good first, and then I can kind of decide what to do about the inventory space. Okay. We're going to call this, I don't know, we'll just call it skeletal hand. Okay. Export the artifacts. Let's create a new artifact for that. Create a new resource. Artifact resource. Skeletal hand. Here. Display name. Primeval hand. So I've kind of got some loose lore in this game. I haven't really explored fully, but I do have this idea of like the primeval necromancers. They were like the OGs of the necromancy profession, I guess you could say. And so several of the cards and the artifacts that you can find in the game are related to the primevals. So this would be a primeval hand, which is basically just like the hand of one of the OG necromancers. Got to run for food, but have a good one all. All right, enjoy your dinner, Jackie Daytona. And thanks for joining. Great to see you as always. Can't believe your boss is making you crunch. Seriously. What's your process when making pixel art? You made the arms so fast. Well, thank you. I'm glad. Well, yeah, so my process, I don't know how to describe it because there's not really, how do I say this? Pixel art is really hard when you first start it. Maybe not really, really hard, but it's hard when you start it. And like anything else, it becomes easier and easier and easier to do with practice. And so when I first started doing pixel art, seriously, for my games, it was an absolute slog. Like I would spend like something like that hand. If I were to try that, you know, 2 years ago or 2.5 or 3 years ago, that probably would have taken me 45 minutes to do, maybe an hour, and it wouldn't have turned out like this either. It would have been much worse. So the process is really about having the patience to get through the fact that your pixel art sucks at first. watching a bunch of pixel art tutorials, watching pixel art critique videos, studying the pixel art of other people, trying to apply those techniques that you've learned, and just doing it over and over and over again. And now I'm at the point where I'm still not the best artist. Sometimes I do get stuck trying to draw certain things. That definitely happens, but a lot of times I will be able to just go out and draw a sprite, and with, I would say, relative ease compared to where I was 2 or 3 years ago. So there's not really a process. I mean, I guess what I usually do is if I'm drawing a new thing, I'll usually just block out the shape in a single color first, because I think the shape is one of the most important things about it. If you can't get the shape right, then it's just not going to look right. So I try to get the shape down first, and then, you know, I apply the shading, which is just a matter of making sure that your light is coming from one direction, and then darkening the parts that should be dark and lightening the parts that should be light. Easier said than done, I know, but... And then also there's this situation where I kind of have a style for Alka Mortis, and so I'm using repeated patterns for a lot of the art in terms of how I approach them. So generally speaking, and this is actually an exception here, but generally speaking, anytime I'm dealing with something that's supposed to be bone, these are the 3 colors that I use. So I didn't have to fumble with whatever colors, even though I only have 8 colors here. I've learned through the experience of making art for this project that whenever I'm doing a bone, the orange and the red and the white tend to work the best. And so when I was drawing the skeletal hand, choosing the colors wasn't really a choice that I had to make. It's already part of like the style that I'm approaching, or that I'm doing here. So anyway, I don't know if that's super helpful. I guess all of that is to say that there's not really a process. It's mostly just experience, and also kind of like continuing the patterns that I've established for the rest of the art in the game previously. How did you change Godot's colors? It's in the editor settings. You could change the editor Godot colors. Hello, Ninja Link. Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, so we've got this primeval hand now. We're going to copy this. Copy. Paste it here. Make that unique. Edit this region. Grab that. Alternative art. Description. Description. 50% chance to increase poison, bleed, fire, and preserve stacks applied by 1. Okay, so now we got to create the script for that. So let me might as well just copy the sundial here. New file, skeletal hand. Paste this in here. Skeletal hand. We're going to uncomment this. Put this down here. Context helper, board manager, Matthew Till. Okay, and we'll go to the sundial now and remove this comment. Okay, since that ability was basically lifted from the old sundial, that should work, but let's go ahead and just test it. Feels good to make a new artifact. I haven't done that in many weeks. Bothered me for a long time. Is purple your favorite color? I don't know. I don't really... Purple is a color that I very much enjoy, yes. I don't know about favorite. I'm not the kind of person that's like, well, I have a lot of favorites, you know? But yes, I enjoy purple quite a lot. I think it looks nice. Have you ever thought of tried using JSON files instead of resources? I don't have a reason to use JSON files as like a resource replacement. Godot makes it really easy to create resources, really easy to edit resources, and I'm not doing any like saving or loading of resources beyond the initial editor setup, so I don't need anything more complex than that. And I also don't need to be able to like edit the raw text file of the resource. I just edit it through the editor. So for my use case, I don't think JSON would provide much of a benefit, if any, over the built-in resources. I need to get to a combat encounter here, and I also need... that Viper there. Let's see if it works to apply poison. Stylistically, dark purple looks great in dark themes. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Godot largely stores it all as unencrypted text anyway. Yeah, in the PCK file. Okay, let's see what happens. Viper applied 3 poison. Viper applied 4 poison. Okay, it worked. Applied 4 poison again. Very cool. Okay. I would love to improve this combat log to indicate that artifacts are modifying these abilities as well, but that combat log, I definitely want to spend a lot of time making that as useful as possible, but it's just not the time to do that right now. Okay, there was another artifact that I wanted to do, but let's, do I need to add this anywhere? I don't think so. I think my artifact loot tables are automatically set up to just load all the artifacts into the loot table, so I don't think I need to do anything with this. Add skeletal hand artifact. Cool. All right, so that works. What else? So yeah, I wanted to do a new artifact that can transmute a status applied into a different status applied. I think that would be really cool. So once again, we have to think of a piece of art for this. We got to think of a piece of art for this. Give me 1 second, sorry. All right, so transmute. Unstable potion. So I could do that, but I have a lot of vials already. Like I've got this vial here. I've got this immortality elixir there. I guess that's only 2, but that feels like a lot of vials to me. I actually, while I'm here, I'm going to try to bring this. Well, maybe it's fine. Actually, I'm going to try to bring this more in line with what I'm doing elsewhere here. Let's see. Oops. Okay, I think that looks better. Anyway. I'm also, while I'm here as well, I mentioned that this is not using my typical bone colors. Yeah, that looks better. I think that looks better. Maybe we'll slap a couple of Yep, I like that better. So I mentioned before that I was using the orange for my bone colors, and this was an old artifact that I had drawn before I settled on that, so fixing that while I'm here is good. We'll also add a little bit of shading down here because it looks weird being that flat red there. And maybe I'll even do that. There we go. Wow, we might as well update all of these. We might as well update all of these. Why not? I'm just jamming with some art, man. Just trying to do my art, man. This might actually look better using the orange as well here. I think that looks more candle-esque. Maybe. Yeah, I think that looks better. It's amazing what just a few little color tweaks can do. Noble pedigree, my eyes are on you now. Just add a couple, like I just added some darker blue pixels here to break up that, that green color, the massive green, and that just makes it look better immediately, basically. And just one, look at that. Look at the difference this makes. Look at this. One little purple pixel there, and maybe even here. Look at how much better that looks. And what I could even do here is I could add an even darker pixel right there, and maybe, well, that might be overdoing it. That's probably good. So I had just this really dark one here, couple of purple pixels there. And in here, yeah, this one's a little bit weird. So what's weird is that I don't really have another good color that's a step down from this blue color right here. So I have to use this purple in some cases. Now what I could potentially do is I might be able to just get away with putting black in there, but that doesn't look quite right either. So we'll just leave that as is for now. We're just giving these things a little bit of a visual refresh. This chalice here, I can probably get this looking a little bit nicer by doing the same thing here. Just add a little bit of extra color there. Yeah, just like that. Okay. Rod of Asclepius. This one, I don't think this really needs anything. Alchemical heal. I could maybe just add a little highlight on the snake head right there. That's it. I think that looks fine. Telescope, I think the telescope is just generally ugly, so maybe I'll redo that at some point. The broken sundial looks okay to me, so we'll skip that. The cloak here probably could use a little bit of improvement if I just add like a couple of these highlights here. Maybe, oh, maybe do this. Yeah, just some very, very subtle highlights. It might be too much to add it over there. Yeah, that might be too much. Maybe I'll leave it like that. Okay. This immortality elixir, I actually think that looks pretty darn good, so we'll leave that alone. I think the thorns are okay as well. Yeah, I think the thorns are fine. And then, of course, the hand here, I just drew that, so I'm not going to redo anything. Okay, anyway. Tweak artifact art. Oh, I left that message up for way too long. Ron's broken wand. Oh, lifting from Harry Potter. Defective wand staff. But a defective wand is actually a good idea. Maybe something electric looking. Electric looking. Zwei Idioten. Ein Gedanke. Two idiots, same thought. You could draw two parts that are connected like pieces of cheese, like on a pizza that stretches, if that makes any sense. Talking about the transmute artifact. Yeah, draw like a mozzarella stick for it. We could do that. So we do like a cheesy mozzarella stick. Cheesy mozzarella stick. Look at how delectable that looks. Oh, mama. The cheese is practically melting off the screen. I'm spending way too much time on this, but that's okay. It's good practice. I haven't done a lot of artwork in a while, so it's kind of fun just to goof off a little bit. Look at that glistening mozzarella stick. That was very good German. I took 4 years of German in high school. I was at the point where I could basically speak it fluently. I mean, my vocabulary was still limited, but I had the grammatical structures down and everything and the pronunciations. My German teacher was very upset that I didn't do the AP test for German. Because I was like, why would I spend money doing the AP test when I know that this German credit is not going to get me anywhere? But it got to the point where I could have like a full-on conversation with my German teacher in German, and I then promptly forgot everything. But I had fun in German class. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Hungry. Yeah. Thoughts on eating straight cottage cheese? I used to do that when I was a kid. We would, we would have like, I don't know, whatever we were having, and then just on the side, here's a pile of cottage cheese. Don't do it. Why would you do that? Not saying I do that, just know some people who do. They say it's a good source of protein. Are you sure they're people and not aliens in disguise? You know what's good is cottage cheese on a baked potato. Just put a dollop of cottage cheese instead of sour cream on it. That's actually very good. Anyway, we're not doing a mozzarella stick. You may be surprised that that is not actually going to get it into the game. But something like a broken wand sounds like a good idea. So let's see if we can make something work to that effect. I'm going to make it look not so polished, I think. Make it look somewhat like a twig or something. Oh, it does have to be broken, doesn't it? This is a little bit too thick as well. Actually, know what? Instead of doing a broken wand, I'm going to do something slightly different. I'm going to call it an apprentice wand. And it's going to randomly change a status into another status. So instead of being broken, it'll just be like the apprentice tried to make a wand and it doesn't work. We'll do like that. Do a little twig here. That's probably too much. I'm going to use a different color. That should work. And then, yeah, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Am I far enough away? That's 4 pixels. That's 3 pixels. Okay, we should be good. We should be good. All right, so let's change. Let's do apprentice wand, or I'll just call it wand. It doesn't need to be that long. Doesn't need to be that long of a name in the game files. Okay, so we've got that. Let's also do, let's just see. So we do something like this. Okay. I think that works. And then for here, what do I want to do here? Maybe like this. Yeah, that works. That works. Maybe we'll just put like a highlight here, maybe? I think that's okay. Maybe I'll just put, maybe I could just put like a leaf. Put a leaf on it or something. How am I going to do that though? Put like a little leaf there and like maybe... I think that's fine. Looks kind of cute. It's just like a little kind of goofy looking wand. Well, that morphed into quite the artifact, but I'm happy with it, I think. Just make sure I've got proper space on every side. So that's another trick with pixel art too. It's not really applicable in this game, but if you're outlining something and you want to make something look, if you're outlining something and want to make something look pointy, what you do is you just kind of like double up your outline. So here I want to make the tip look pointy, right? Because it looks kind of rounded if you look at the preview. But if I just put a black pixel there, all of a sudden now that tip is sharp, right? And then same for the leaf. I want the leaf to be a little bit sharp, so I add that pixel there. And same for this one up here. So typically you're not supposed to do outlines like, I mean, supposed to, it's like a loose guideline, but typically you're not supposed to really do this kind of thing, but you can break that quote unquote rule to create the impression of sharpness when you're outlining something. So that's one of the tips that I learned when I'm still learning pixel art, but when I was first learning pixel art. And I think it works very effectively. To me, it's like that scene from The Office where Michael's just eating mayo instead of ice cream. Oh, gross. Art, yeah. Here's a free German tongue twister. Oh my gosh. "10 domesticated goats pulled 10 hundredweights of sugar to the zoo in Zwickau." Okay. I'm not going to attempt that one. That's kind of a tongue twister in English too. 10 domesticated goats pulled 10 hundredweights of sugar to the zoo in Zwickau. It's insane how much the leaves made this image pop. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I added the leaves, because it was too, like, not necessarily monochromatic, but it was too, I don't know what the word is, but yeah, it was too bland, but just, yeah, adding the leaves there just gives a little bit more character color. Your pixel art is improving. I'm curious if you'd consider experimenting with different mediums, maybe a project with less assets. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to explore more. Kind of like the mode that I'm in right now is like, I don't really want to learn any new skills. I just want to take the skills that I have and see if I can make a successful game with them. If I'm ever going to like explore a different medium, like maybe 3D or maybe just 2D higher resolution art, that would be new skills to learn. But I would want to do that only if I've already made a successful game using the skills that I have currently. I don't want to introduce like extra barriers to getting a game to sell successfully, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to stick to what I know, so that way I can focus more on like the actual game design and making a good game. Uniform. Yeah, maybe uniform is the word. Yeah. Maybe uniform is the word I'm looking for. Okay, let's export that. We'll create that artifact. This is going to be a fun one to do, I think. This is going to be a fun one. Apprentice wand. Has a chance. What is the chance we should use? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell without playtesting it, but I mean, I might as well just go whenever a status is applied, the status is transformed into a different status. We're just going to go whole in on that. The problem is this is not going to stack either. The relic. I mean, I'm wondering, should I just drop the artifact stacking? I'm wondering if I should do that. Because right now the artifacts can stack, so you can have multiple copies of the same artifact. If I eliminate artifact stacking, the problem is that's going to break seeded runs. So, like, if I choose an artifact, that means that artifact has to be removed from the loot pools of all the remaining artifacts. Artifact nodes on the map. And that means that as soon as I remove something from a loot pool, it completely changes the outputs of all the other artifact nodes. So that means that two players playing the same seed will not encounter the same artifacts. So that's the main reason why I haven't, one of the main reasons why I haven't made artifacts unique yet. And the other problem is I kind of like that artifacts can stack. Like in Risk of Rain, you get those relics or whatever they're called, and you could just stack those as many times as you want, which is really fun. Hmm. 20%? that makes perfect sense. Stick to art, you know, the opposite of shiny object syndrome. Yeah. Maybe 20% is a good number. Yeah. I like the stacking too. I think it depends on how special or game-changing you want a relic to be. You get those way more frequently than you do here, though. Yes, that's true. I'd say you get more in Slay the Spire as well. I can make artifact nodes more common as well. Maybe that is a problem. Maybe the artifacts are not common enough. That is an interesting concept. Let's do let's just do 20% chance for now. I think you're onto something, Ninja Link. I think maybe I should make my artifacts more common. The artifact nodes more common. Modify apply status context. Copy this, paste that. I need like a list of... I need like a list of statuses, because every time I add a new status, I'm going to have to update this. But I guess I'll just do it manually for now. So we got bleed, fire, holy, necrosis, poison, and shield. Probably don't want to do... Well, maybe we do want to do holy. People will just stick to fire, shield, poison, and bleed for now. Anyway, chance is less than 20%. Let's do greater than. Trying to think of how I actually want to implement this. Context to board. I guess this is fine, the way I'm checking this right now. Okay. So now I need to do this. So I basically need to choose a status that is not the status being applied. And I need to instantiate that. Well, there's an easy way to do this. Var new statuses. Statuses is equal to new list base status. Actually, let's simplify this a little bit. List base status new statuses is equal to this. We'll do new fire status context dot status dot stacks, new shield status, new poison status, new bleed status. Ooh, this is going to be powerful actually. So new statuses, and then we're going to do this. New statuses is equal to our dot, remove all. Yeah, let's do that. Remove, I'll just do remove, I guess. Oh, never mind. Status dot get type is equal to context dot status dot get type. Okay, cool. And then what we could do is we could just do context.status is equal to new statuses, randi range new statuses.count. Oh, this is a init only. Is this a record? This is not a record. Well, let's make this a record. Let's do return context with status equals context status equals this. So we're basically just completely modifying that context and changing the status that's applied out. So we just instantiate all the valid statuses with the status stacks, and then we filter out the one that is the same type as the one that's coming in. And then we just return a new context object that replaces that status object with the new one. So hopefully that works. We will see. Let's get rid of the sundial. Let's just go with something easy, I suppose. I'm going to add a candle in here. And that candle... That candle applies fire. So I should see it applying any one of those other statuses sometimes. I want to create a textured UI like yours. Do you have a video explaining how you lined up the nodes perfectly? It's probably a lot simpler than you think. I think it's easy to overthink it, but this drawer UI here, I literally just have, where is it? Oh, yeah, player inventory. Here we go. So this frame here, that is just all one texture. And then I just use a series of control nodes to align the interactive elements in the right spot. And of course you have to do proper measurements, right? So like this is the board where the inventory exists here. And so I had to make sure when I was drawing it that this height in here would be the same height as what the board height would end up being in game. So it's just about making sure that you're carefully measuring things, and then just using margins and padding and whatnot to just position things where they should be. That's about it. It's actually relatively straightforward. Welcome to the stream, by the way, Gray Rain. Okay, so let's see. What was I doing? Right, I was going to test that wand. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention on this, which is that one thing that can be really helpful if you're drawing UI art and such is to take a screenshot of your game at the resolution that you're using. So if you're doing a pixel game and your resolution is low, take a screenshot of it at that low resolution. So in this case, my screenshot would be 640 by 360. You could take a screenshot of your game and bring that into something like Sprite, and then draw your UI around the already existing elements. That can make measuring a lot easier. As a matter of fact, I think that's what I did when I was drawing this thing. I took a screenshot, and then I was able to perfectly measure what the size of the board would be that needs to fill this space. So that's another tip I can give you. Now we just need a card that applies a little bit of every status to combine with this artifact for pure chaos. Yeah. Well, yeah, I was going to say the Grimoire is kind of like that, but it's not exactly that. Wowza, you have a build project function? I do. I do have a build project function because it's a C# project. Okay. So let's see if this wand works. We'll put the candle in here. Oh, I have my debug notoriety level still up. I guess I could have tested it in the boss fight, but I would probably get wrecked before I could even observe anything happening. Is C# feature complete versus GDScript? Hello, happy-go-lucky. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, I mean, the C# basically has one-for-one matching of all the, I mean, not basically, I'm pretty sure it has one-to-one matching of all the Godot APIs. And I think I honestly can't think of anything that is lacking in C# that is also available in GDScript. The only thing that's lacking is the web exports don't work, but that's more on the build side rather than like on the actual like scripting your game side. So yeah, I think it's fine. I haven't run into any issues whatsoever. There were issues early on in C# with like certain exported properties not working and whatnot, but I think they've resolved all of those for the most part. There may be one or two very niche situations where C# behaves weirdly, but for the most part, it's good. You cannot export to web with C#. That's correct. So don't use C# if you're participating in a game jam. I should probably turn up this chance just to make sure it's working. It has not yet applied anything but fire. Either something's not working or this is just, I just got unlucky. Let's just do one. Signal emits don't autocomplete in the script after double clicking in their panel, last I saw. Oh, I see. Yeah, I don't use the editor-based signal connection, so that would be something that I'm unaware of. I always just found it easier to connect signals in script purely. Because the problem with connecting the signals through the editor is that it actually puts signal data in your scene file, like in the TSCN file. And that can get out of sync if you ever go in and like manually delete. If you ever go in and manually delete like a signal handler function, and that can cause problems, but maybe they fixed that too. It's been a while. Okay, so the candle's working. The candle applied poison, it applied bleed. Okay. Let's change this to a 30% chance then. Wand. I ripped signals out of the visual editor in my fork of Godot. Yeah, to be honest, like I think that they should do that in the default build of the engine. Like, I don't think there's any reason to have signal connections have an editor UI. I think it just adds confusion rather than clarity. Any ideas, features you wish Godot had? The main thing is that I would love for the Godot developers to spend a lot of time making the multiplayer functionality like as easy to use as possible and like as robust as possible. I think the multiplayer, like the high-level multiplayer API they have is already pretty decent, but I think there's a lot of room for improvement. And so, yeah, I would love to see, I don't know how they would do it, but I would love to see a situation where Godot just has like this stupid easy multiplayer implementation where it just works and like everything's really easy to use. That's not necessarily a specific feature, but the out-of-sync signal bug is a good point. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, there's no problem necessarily with using the signals in the editor. I just prefer not to use it. You'd love my fork of Godot. I'd be interested to see it. Do you have any other major changes that you've made to it? Signals in the editor help me starting out, but I can see the headache they can cause as opposed to code. Right. I think if the signal UI added the connect code to the ready function, the script by default would work fine. Any multiplayer solution you can contrast to as an example? No, I'm not. I'm kind of ignorant of the other multiplayer solutions out there, like Unity, Unreal, or Libs. Granted, it's a massive rewrite. I'm working on having GD script compiled to C and link against Go like a library. Oh, interesting. Is that to get better performance out of the game? So you write the code in GD script and then it gets converted to, or compiled to C? Godot. Oh, compile and link against Godot like a library. Gotcha. That sounds useful. So you just skipped the, because GD script is interpreted, right? So you skip the interpretation, you compile it all, and then you get the performance benefit out of that. You probably get, I don't know, do you get like build time errors then too? Like, could I build, in the fork that you're working on, could I build my GD script project and then have the compiler tell me all the problems in my code? Like where there's type mismatches and stuff? Oh, shoot. I just realized another bug here. It should be fine, but cards do not apply highlighting when healing is applied. That's another bug that's a consequence of the stuff I changed. So I'm gonna have to address those as well, but I think this wand is working. That's the important thing. Yep, I've been making edits to the analyzer as well. Very cool. That sounds incredibly useful because GD script is a lot of fun to write. And if that just got compiled to a more performant language under the hood and you just got free performance out of it, but you're still able to write with GD script, that sounds amazing, actually. No more Trello. If so, what made you migrate? I just want to have custody of my data. I still use third-party data storage and all that stuff, but the more and more I've been building like a digital presence and I've got all my games and stuff and I make videos, I've succeeded in reclaiming ownership of at least several copies of my data. And so Obsidian is just like a nice way of having like local markdown files that I can back up, that I have custody over, and if anything ever happened, I'd be able to recover those notes. And I do that for all my videos, I do that for all my game projects and everything. I have like multiple redundant copies of all of my Git repositories. I actually have a job that runs every night that pulls down every Git repository that has changed from GitHub, and it creates a bundle and stores the last 5 versions of that bundle, or of that Git repository, stores the last 5 bundles of that Git repository on my NAS, which then gets synced to a cloud provider as well. So anyway, yeah, I'm basically, if my account were to get lost or compromised or GitHub shuts down for whatever reason, I have all my repositories backed up as well. I also moved away from backing up my photos to like Google Photos, and I'm using a private solution for that, my own solution for that. Anyway, yeah. Moral of the story is I own all of my data. On a broader scale, that's kind of like Conjure, the main language I've been building. Yeah, I still have to check out Conjure. I've been meaning to do that. I've been enjoying the demos that have been shown, though, in the stand-ups, for sure. Oh, excuse me. That's not polite. Anyway, I think this wand is working. So yeah, I think that's basically it. I don't have anything else that I want to get done tonight. So that was a very productive stream, though. Hello, Gummy Cookie. Game is looking great. Really reminds me of Backpack Battles a bit with some Slay the Spire inspiration. Awesome. Well, I'm glad that it reminds you of those fantastic games. I hope I don't disappoint. And yeah, Gummy Cookie, if you're new to the game, definitely encourage you to join the Discord. I'll be running a playtest of this later this month. And the way the playtests work is that Patreon members get 1 week of early access to the playtest, and then the playtest is open to anyone who wants to try it for a week after that. So definitely join the Discord if you're interested in trying the game. There will be a playtest out in just a couple of weeks here, and then, yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. Okay, anyway, that's going to be it for the stream today. Appreciate the support, everyone. Thanks for chatting. It was fun hanging out and getting some work done. Again, Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. Check out the Steam page in the description below. The Discord link is also down there. Patreon, all that good stuff. So yeah, appreciate it. I understand owning your data, other people holding your valuables puts too many variables out of your control. Yeah, exactly. And it's not like I'm obviously still using GitHub because it's very convenient, but I just have like a, catastrophic backup plan, right? It's like I'm not going to be losing my game projects if something were to happen. So it's mostly just insurance, right? Anyway, thanks again, everyone. Hope you have a good evening, and I will see you tomorrow at the usual time, 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.